right. Hello, everybody. This is Henry Kramer, 605 Chaser. We do have a number of areas to get to, so we're going to get right into that. The areas that I'm looking at right now, this is your flash flooding risk. There's all kinds of flash flooding expected down here. As you can certainly see, some of the tropical storm slash tropical depression, really tropical disturbance, if you will, that is going on in areas of Mobile, Alabama, Baton Rouge, New Orleans. Those areas are in the risk for major flooding down there. The moderate flooding, 40%, right down by Lafayette, New Iberia, also, there are major flooding, or I should say slight flooding issues here. Charleston, West Virginia, back to Louisville, Kentucky, St. Louis, Jefferson City, even all the way over into extreme southeastern portions of Kansas, that Joplin, Missouri area. You got storms that are expected to just kind of linger and meander along over the course of the morning hours, and then it'll regenerate as we get into the afternoon and evening hours. Let me play this out for you with NAM 3K. Here's a look at 8 a.m. estimates. Obviously, uh, quite a bit of storm coverage, and this isn't going to be severe. It's going to be general thunderstorms, so not anything significant in way of tornadoes or hail or wind threat, but this is all flash flooding expected in these areas. Again, this will continue through much of the day and evening hours, as you can see right there. Once you get into 7 p.m. tomorrow, things start to slowly taper off in that area. As we go into tomorrow, let's look at the risks. There's more of a risk up in areas of like Rochester, Minnesota, and areas of northern Iowa. Why is that? Well, let's take a look at the risks for severe weather and play those through here as best as we can. One moment. So here's the risks that we have for today. This is slight risk in this area here with the yellow, and I don't expect that we're going to have any tornadic supercells over in this Dickinson, uh, Malta and Glasgow, Montana area. The risk for tornado activity is really pushed all the way up into the upper New England states. As you can see here, Burlington, Montpelier, and all the way up into extreme northeastern portions of Maine. Let's go ahead and play this out for you and show you a little bit better of an idea with regards to those tornadic activity in these areas. They're going to be supercellular very early on. And if we go to around noontime, you're going to have a couple of embedded tornadoes possible down in the Bethlehem area, Montpelier. Again, this will be early on in the afternoon, but a lot of it is going to also end up being heavily relied on with respect to the capping in the atmosphere. There's a lot of cloud cover, and I'll show you that on the satellite loop here in just a moment. But as we get into the 18th, not really anything expected in the Northeast. Let's go over to the Northeast, or let's go over to the risks for South Dakota and kind of the Midwest. All right, so if we go over to tomorrow's risks, we've got Virginia Beach, Virginia areas, and we also have this South Dakota region is going to have a marginal risk. I do suspect that they're probably going to upgrade that tomorrow, depending on how the atmosphere plays out. The reason why I feel that they're going to upgrade that in the Sioux Falls area to a slight risk or somewhere within this is because they have that tornado risk there as well. It's a low end tornado risk. There's not a whole lot of uh, wind shear. The instability is definitely going to be there. But the other reason why it's going to be a little lower end is because these storms aren't going to fire up until super late. Take a look at this. Sometime after 7, they finally get going. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at some of the other parameters here, significant tornado parameters, and see what those look like for that area. So we got O'Neill, Nebraska around 8 p.m. Here's significant tornado parameters. We're looking at somewhere between 2, yeah, it looks like 2, maybe 3. Let's take a look here a little bit further. We'll back it up because likely this is going to be earlier. One moment. Yeah, it looks like 7 o'clock is really when things fire up down here. And let's go to 9 p.m. There it is. So between 2 and 3. So extremely low end risk for the tornadoes for that area. And I really don't know if it's going to make its way to Sioux Falls. Hopefully it doesn't. But that O'Neill area is a prime spot for tomorrow's storms. Super late. All right, let's take a look at the max updraft helicity. So the updraft helicity does show a significant number there as well. I shouldn't say significant. This is a low number, actually. So it looks like the updraft become more significant super late. So after 11 p.m. over in the Vermilion area. Let's take a look and see why that might be. So if we look at these numbers here, we'll be able to really tell. 287 for max updraft helicity. Lots of concern. So over by the Wakanda Vermilion and Wynot, Nebraska area, but is there going to be enough of our other LCL lift, all that? And it looks like the Wayne area possibly, but again, I'm not super confident on this. So just stay weather aware. Things could get a little dicey tomorrow. The surface base SIN, just to show you kind of the atmosphere and the capping that's expected. Let me go ahead and wait for that to pull through. So here it is. So today, obviously, you can see really no cap, but that doesn't mean that there's other elements. There's not other elements there today. So tomorrow's risk, here's where it is. And so we have a lot of cap going on over at 3 o'clock in the morning out west. And then we have that cap showing up here around 1 p.m. Look at this. These are pretty strong cap, not real significant, but the other reason why this is going to take super long time for it to really build, if I can get to, I'm going to have to go to NAM 12K to show this. I want to show you the other factor, and what that is the shear. You need the shear, you need the bulk shear in order to allow for that cap to break through that warmer atmosphere. Okay, so here it is. Let me kind of show you right here. This is probably a good spot to show you. Right here, 29, 30 knots, super low wind shear. You want to get up into the 40 plus in order to have really good ample amount of shear. So when you factor in, we don't get the shear to show up until about 6 p.m. And then 6 p.m. is when it finally can break that cap, and then storms could start firing off. So that's why we're expecting this to be super, super late in the evening. It might not even be chase worthy, just for the sheer fact that it's going to be super, super late. But we're still watching it nonetheless. The threat for tornadic activity um, will subside substantially in that area as you get into the early morning hours, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other factors here. So again, marginal risk there. Here's the tornado risk for tomorrow. And Bullseye is right over by Clear Lake, Redwood Falls, Worthington, Brookings. So really what I think is going to happen is they're going to isolate this likely. Actually, let me redraw that. It's probably not going to be that far north. The tornado risk, in my opinion, is probably going to be pushed more along this area here. That would be my estimate. They'll probably uh, scrape this portion up by the DeSmet and Brookings area, but nonetheless, stay weather aware. You never know. Things could go a little bit slower and still keep it in that northerly sector. What is the other risk that we have for tomorrow? We got the wind risks. Those are not as huge. Um, the hail risk, though, is a little bit bigger. We show 5%, but I expect this to likely increase as the night goes on. The hail risk is probably going to be most significant right in these areas here. We're talking 1 inch plus type of hail for those areas for tomorrow, July 18th. I know I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on the major risks today, but I do also want to show you kind of the satellite imagery here to show you what is all happening for that. So we got lots of clearing happening up in the North Dakota, South Dakota area. But let's go over to the areas that are seeing that major, um, for today at least. So some risks for that tornado activity. Syracuse, New York area, you're starting to clear things out a little bit, so that'll help for storms to develop. But there is still some cloud cover meandering up by the Montpelier area, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for things to get moving. The further northeast that you go, things are getting kind of clear there as well. Let's put a satellite imagery loop on this and kind of show what we got going on there. We could have some general thunderstorms over in these areas as well, in Indianapolis, and then some heavier bands of rainfall has been over in the Wichita to Springfield and even to the Jefferson City area. You can see these on cloud imagery here, satellite imagery, pretty significant. And we'll go to a live radar here to kind of show you that a little bit better perspective here. So these are very slow movers, nothing severe from a wind, hail, tornado threat, but there is that threat for flash flooding as these continue to just meander over the same areas over and over again. That's the risk. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at live radar up in this area, and we'll be able to see very difficult for things to get going over here. And this is going to be likely, looks like probably within the next couple of hours, we're going to start seeing some clearing going, and then we're going to end up having those storms start firing up a little bit in the early afternoon hours depending on some of the capping that's going on right now there. We do have 73-degree temperature, dew point 73, so right in that good region for things to start firing up. But we'll have to see how things play out with respect to the lift. Let me see here if I can show you guys HRRR. I want to cover you guys as well. We have some followers there. All right, looks like the wind shear does not show up until way late. So I really think it's going to be very difficult for any tornadic activity to show up into these areas, even though they do have that risk outlined by the Storm Prediction Center for the tornado activity. I do believe that this is likely going to get scaled back a little bit. It's going to be very, very low end. All right, that's the latest information that we have from 605 Chaser Studios. God bless. Stay safe.